My name is Jen Jarvis. I own a business management operational consulting business. I go in and I help people get things done in their business. Currently, I am working with Smith through VH Hydroponics, so building their business infrastructure to help them move forward. Typically top of mind when I'm going into companies is really how can I slow things down a little bit and really take whatever is not needed to be done off of someone's plate. So usually there is a lot of overwhelm that's going on in a distressed company. And for me, anything I can do to kind of mitigate interference is what I'm looking to do for them moving forward. And that's where Smith has really helped. I discovered Smith.ai as a referral from another consultant that I knew. And the data that I was receiving when working with this consultant was just that the company was just bogged down with a ton of phone calls that were coming in and they weren't being responded to. So a consultant shared a solution that she had with me, which was Smith.ai, and that's how it actually got started. We started with Smith not through a campaign or an outreach campaign. We started through the reception service to be able to support the incoming calls that were coming into the organization. My experience through that reception service was super positive, from my salesperson who supported me in understanding what I needed, onto the operations people and moving forward. I had a really positive experience. As a consultant, data is the backbone to so many different things. And the data that I received for even just the reception service and I was able to use that data to support leaders to make decisions. A campaign came up and moving forward and needing to contact. And because of the fact that I had such a positive experience, and I knew that they were backing everything that they were doing with data, really was the foundational reason why I chose Smith to move forward with an outreach campaign and getting started on that, and experienced the very same, I experienced the same customer service that I did in the reception service when I was actually in the campaign as well. So the campaign that we were working with was that it was a very high dollar product. It was a product that was going out where there wasn't a lot of familiarity about the option for the product. So our campaign involved a few different components. There first was the initial call out to the organization and inquiring about them being interested in the product. The second part of that was for there to be a send out or a scheduling component if someone wanted to schedule time to actually have a conversation with someone within our organization, a more in-depth conversation to move that forward. There were also some other scenarios that were planned in there because of the population that we were dealing with. And so there were lots of just options, which was nice because it's never just black and white. And so being able to have flexibility in a campaign, what if this happens, or if this happens, also is going to bring confidence to the campaign and to us having it, putting it out there. The really nice thing was that we were originally going for trying to communicate with a position that may have not been, though they were the economic buyer, it was not the best entry point into the organization, which is what we thought originally. Due to the capacity, we worked with Smith to have the conversation about not getting responses from this one particular role of the economic buyer. And then what we decided was to actually work through the assistants who are often the gatekeepers for the economic buyer because of the workload in that. So we were able to shift mid-campaign from calling a leader to calling someone who could be a champion and help facilitate the conversation with the leader to pique the interest, and then to have them actually help support the ask that we were presenting to the organization. When you're working with organizations like Smith or outreach campaigns, well, in Alaska, we pride ourselves on being different from everyone, as I'm sure every state actually does. But when I went to Smith to have that conversation about, it wasn't like, no, you're no different than anyone in any other place. I didn't feel that at all. I felt like, help us understand who your client is. And we want to understand the potential difficulties in contacting them and what's going to be their objection, so that we can understand why the no was. And it wasn't just this is what we're going to do and we're going to say to them and they take it or they don't take it. They want to engage in conversation with our clients, right? They don't sound canned. And that's what's really, really nice. So when we tell you you're calling an area that only has 5,000 people and it's not connected to any roads and it's -50 in the wind chill, and this is what's going on with all these other factors, whether it be a school district, a tribe, or a municipality, the complexities sometimes, that low on the priority list is anything except for making it. And they were really respectful of that when they called leaders. And that was definitely appreciated. A little empathy goes a long way when it comes to a sales campaign. I think when you're starting a campaign with Smith, you've got to understand where the ROI is and what's really, really important. So, I know that it's continuously, did we generate leads? Did I have more meetings on my calendar? Was I able to actually equate conversations with Smith with actual customers coming in the door? And sure, that's really, really important. But sometimes I think you need to be prepared for the other ROIs that come into that. That you have available to you, I guess, is what I would say. So in other words, with us being a company that was going into a market that was new, we're in our material every day. And Smith was able to support conversations about, what is our messaging about this? Who is your client? What are you telling them? And worked with us as far as, we feel like you may be getting too much in the weeds on this. And 100%. When reflecting back on those conversations, they're exactly right. They could have taken my script and they could have said, yep, we'll push it forward and move forward. But they used the best practices. And not only did they use them, but they made modifications and communicated with me how they were approaching it. And it was more of a team thing. So when we left, leads aside, revenue in the door aside, all of that, the value that was received just from the messaging, especially when you're dealing with a small business, that there's not a lot of people to take that advisement and consulting. As a consultant, I can tell you that that's worth value. And if we got no leads in the door, the opportunity to hone your message and have a professional marketer take a look at it and your outreach campaign was worth the money that was spent. So I think what stands out, I think, everybody has very different customers as far as, are they customers of massive organizations? Are they mid-size? Are they small? Is it a startup? Is it a well-established, and things along those lines? So I'm going to speak from the small business owner that sometimes is under a little bit of overwhelm, which was the case in the situation of the company that I'm working with. There's a lot of things going on. And when you have a lot of information bombarding you and it's just one more thing to do, it becomes difficult to navigate. So when you're working in the campaign, you must reach out to people. It's the crux of your business. But when you're in overwhelm, that's really hard to do. So being able to have Smith support that is important. The other side of that is, it's intimidating, I think, for business owners to engage with outreach companies, because you feel like you need to know everything before you can start engaging. And I encourage you to not know everything before you start engaging, because what you'll learn, don't waste that time. Go right to them to start having those actual conversations, so that you're developing as you go. I think Smith's ability to be compassionate and empathetic with our customer base was also reflected in how they dealt with us. There were times that, the person that we were coordinating with, and I would say, or a team member would say, I just can't right now. And so the response was, it'll be okay. We'll check back in tomorrow, and let's just answer this question and not have to solve everything. So, if you as a consultant, that's really, really important. And for my clients to be able to have that, they don't have a lot of support, and they need support that's not saying, well, you dropped the ball and it's not going to work and we're done. They need to have someone who's able to walk next to them and do this, and who understands that you don't know everything and they just want to be any missing pieces that you need. Well, I think that if you're questioning even the marketing service and you want to get a glimpse, you're going to have the same experience with the receptionist that you do consistently throughout all the things that are offered through Smith.ai, which is really nice. I mean, it definitely was a toe in the reception service. It wasn't even considering a campaign. But when you feel so well supported, then you're open to solutions and you don't feel like you're with an organization who is continuously just trying to do an add-on, right? When there was, I don't think that's for us, there wasn't any pushback. There was like, great, just so that you know it's here if you ever want it, which, puts people in control of the situation. When you're deciding who to work with, I think the partnership thing is really important. As a consultant, like, you have to look to be multiple ways to be resilient, right? And that's through lots of relationships. I can't even name the amount of people that I have had experiences with. So from my actual salesperson to the person who was hooking in calendars to the person who was running the marketing campaign, it's not a matter of being pushed out. I have individual relationships with all these different people supporting me. If I can't get a hold of my account manager, then I can call any of the people that I've had contact with before, and they'll say, let me get you to Eduardo really quick. And then you'll go from there. Or I can't get a hold of Christine. It's okay. Let's get what you need and then figure that out. Not because I wanted to circumvent and not because she wasn't available, but when you are at a 4-hour time difference, sometimes that's not always easy. So the willingness of their team to support each other is just, it should be reassuring to you that you get that same support, that you're just a part of that team. As the partnership continued, I was impressed with how many other opportunities there were that I wasn't even aware of. So, for example, our CRM is Pipedrive, and the ability to connect Pipedrive, or for Smith to connect the messages and things going on directly into our Pipedrive, has been hugely beneficial moving forward. So I think that there's a ton of opportunities that are out there and everybody's unique. And so I think exploring those opportunities is probably your first step with them, and understanding, like I said, I had no idea that we would be able to do that would be able to feed that system, and how much time that it actually saved. If you make no money on a campaign, or when you're talking about the reception service, the amount of money that you save in efficiency and organizational efficiency about the message even getting out is really, really important, and just speaks to the additional ROIs that are available to you when working with Smith. People look at the ROI as always being financial. And when you talk about now the impact investing that people are doing, it's more than just that. And I feel like Smith is about that, but I don't think they talk about that a lot on any of the things that I've seen. Like, if you bring in $100, or you saved $100 based on time, or a whole person, that would be a reception service, that people in my business and across everywhere, they forget to calculate that in. If I've made $100 plus you've saved me $100 in time, you've actually made me $200 moving forward. So anyway, just something that I think about with that. Everybody's dealing with the pinch right now of workforce availability, and the age of working harder. We've now moved to the point where there's no harder that we can possibly work in some of our companies. It's really time to shift to smarter, and then start finding those buckets that you actually have available to you. Asking any small business, asking the question, is this something I need to buy, or is this something I need to make? in the organization is one of the evaluation points. And answering a phone that continuously rings with that, a lot of times the calls aren't bearing fruit because of the fact that they are telemarketers or Google ads or all of these other things. Not having to filter through that and having Smith do that for you we've gained a ton in operational efficiency. And that's really what it's about.